Okay, so you just fired up Nuke for the very first time, and it looks nothing like Photoshop or After Effects. No worries, don't panic. This gray landscape is the industry standard for a reason. In this video, I'm going to demystify the Nuke interface. We'll break down the big three panels. I'm going to show you how to navigate around the different areas, and I show you a couple of hotkeys that are going to make your life way easier. So first, the viewer. This is your monitor. It shows you the result of your work. Everything that you have done over the node graph is going to be showing up in the viewer. Now, the node graph, which sometimes it's also called the DAG or the DAG, this is the brain of the operation. In Nuke, we don't stack up layers. We connect nodes in a very specific way. It flows down the pipes, get processed, and ends up in your viewer. Inside the node graph, we can create different nodes. We can create blur nodes, we can create grade nodes, we can create transform nodes, and a lot of other different nodes. Now, every time we create a node, we're gonna be getting its properties in the properties panel. And there are two ways to get the properties of a node open. So the very first one is whenever you bring a node, the properties are gonna show up right away. The other one is you can double click a node and the properties are going to show up. On the far left, you have the nodes toolbar. It's organized by categories. You will see the draw tools or the draw nodes, the color nodes, the transform nodes, the filter nodes, the merge nodes. A lot of different nodes or tools are gonna be inside this toolbar. Now, the pro way of bringing the nodes, you can either go and click on the toolbar and select the node from there. You can always press tab in your keyboard, type the node that you are looking for, in this case blur, press enter, and the node shows inside your node graph. Notice how the properties for the blur node shows in the property panel. Now, after the toolbar, we also have our timeline. Nuke, it's a compositing software that works on movies and image sequences. That's why the timeline is so important. We are not gonna be working on still images like in Photoshop. We're gonna be working with an image sequence or with that sequence of different images that when you play through them is gonna represent motion, or it's going to present the illusion of motion. So in the timeline, we're gonna be able to go backwards, we're gonna be able to play forward. So keep it in mind, it's a very important part of the whole Nuke interface. Now, another important part is that, as I already told you in the very beginning, Nuke has three big parts. And these three big parts, the viewer, the node graph, the properties panel, they all live inside an area called pane. If you look inside the pane, you'll see different options. This is one pane, this is another pane, and this is the other pane. Go inside the properties and we can float the pane. We can close the pane and we can bring back the different windows that we just closed. Properties, for example, is right here inside Windows, Properties. Now, other than the panes, we also have the tabs. These tabs come from the different windows that we can open in here. So if I click again in the pane icon, Windows, Background Renders, Properties, and I can open pretty much whatever window or tab that I need. These tabs can live in different panes. I can take my script editor and move it around and put it below where the node graph was. I can drag it again, drop it on top of my viewer, and I can get that window tab in the viewer pane. I can just drag it around and I can divide and I can split my pane in two different sections. I can close my window, close my pane, and the viewer pane is gonna become, again, the right size. Now you can also play with the size of the panes. You can divide it, split horizontal, and add a different window to that pane. We can bring it back, close the pane, and so on. As you can see, Nuke's graphic interface is very customizable. You can float different panes if you want to have two different monitors. For that matter, we also have the workspace. Inside the workspace menu, you will find the different presets that come already within Nuke. Compositing, large node graph, which will bring your node graph into a bigger pane, leaving your viewer in a smaller size. Large viewer. So please try them around and see which one is the one that fits the best for your understanding and fits the best for what we're going to be doing in the next lessons. I'm going to bring it back to compositing, and this is what we have right now. Okay, now another important thing to know about Nuke is how can we navigate around it. In order to navigate inside Nuke, you will need a 3-button mouse. Why? Because with the middle mouse button, we can pan around either in our viewer or inside the node graph. If you hold down Alt in your keyboard, then click your middle mouse button and drag left and right, you can either zoom in or zoom out. Same will happen with the node graph. Zoom in, zoom out. You will notice whenever you move your nodes outside of your view inside the node graph, a little map with the nodes will appear on the bottom right corner of that pane. This map will let you know that you have nodes inside your node graph, but you are not seeing them. In order to get your nodes back, just press F in your keyboard. The map disappears and your nodes are back into your view. Same will happen with the viewer. If you move it too much and make it disappear, now you cannot see it, press F in your keyboard and your format will be back in your view. Okay, so these are the basics inside the Nuke's user interface. Please feel free to play around with it. Don't worry, you won't be able to break it. It's pretty straightforward. And later on, as we go into the project, I will be getting more into the detail of how the different areas inside Nuke work. Thank you, and let's go to the next video. In our next video, I'm gonna be going over some of the basic nodes that we're gonna be using during our workshop.